My dear people of God, today's reflection, I would like to begin with the experience that I had where I was working last year. We know that we are in the midst of a pandemic. It was more devastating in the previous year. And during these times, people found difficult to survive, especially the poorest of the poor. I was working in Little Andaman's Hut Bay. Along with my assistant priest, I was supposed to go to distribute ration items for around 153 families. Some government servants, generous people, had contributed some amount. Some gave 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 and even 15,000. But the amount was still less. I needed another 5,000 more. But I knew God would somehow give it to me. Early morning, as we were loading the ration items into the cargo jeep, a youth from my parish approached me. This youth is not from a well-to-do family. He works on a daily basis. I have known the financial difficulties he and his family face. And yet, he came this early morning and he placed into my hands 1,000. And he said this, "Father Ji, this is not much, but very little that I could afford. I came to know last night that you are going to distribute something for the very needy families. And therefore, this is from my side, a little. Please accept it and help some family." I was very much touched by his kind gesture and thoughtfulness. Similar kinds of incidents we find in the readings of the 32nd Ordinary Sunday. The readings present before us two widows who showed their generosity and were rewarded for that. In the first reading from the first book of Kings, we see a Sidonian widow who showed generosity towards the man of God, the prophet of God. The land was badly hit by a drought. The poor people found difficult to survive. Yet it was the plan of God to send his prophet Elijah only to this particular poor widow. This widow had nothing much to survive on. What she had was just a little flour in a jar, a handful, and little oil in a jug, which she had to prepare and eat along with her son. And at that particular moment, the prophet of God Elijah arrives and he requests this widow for a meal. He says, "Please provide me with a meal before you could eat." The widow had not much, but whatever she had, she served first the representative of God, the man of God. And see, she was rewarded immensely. The jar of flour and the jug of oil never got empty until the end of the drought. In the gospel passage, we see yet another widow highlighted by Jesus Christ. That widow put 2 small copper coins in the temple treasury box. The others too, especially the rich, put in large amount of money. After observing all these people, Jesus said, "This woman has put in more than all the others." By the wisdom of the world, you may say that the calculation of Jesus is wrong, but the wisdom of God is beyond our wisdom. Jesus explains why this widow's contribution is more than the rich people's contribution. She gave not out of her excess, unlike the rich, but out of her poverty and lack. It must have pained her to give both the coins. She could have kept one for herself, but she gave both the coins without holding anything back. This manifests her total love for God and her total dependence on the providence of God. Unlike the scribes and the Pharisees, who loved themselves much more than God and who depended on themselves more than depending on God. This woman becomes, for all of us, a positive model for sacrificial giving and stands in sharp contrast to the self-indulgent behavior and false piety of the scribes and the Pharisees. No doubt, the widow's action, kind gesture, was praiseworthy. But in her action, there is something more here. She, out of her poverty and without reservation, gave all her living to God. Her gift foreshadows the very person of Jesus Christ, who would soon give himself totally on the cross in a sacrifice for the sins of the whole world. In the Gospel of Mark, this woman becomes a type of him who St. Paul says in his second letter to the Corinthians chapter 8 verse 9, though he was rich, for our sake he became poor, so that by his poverty we may become rich. My dear people of God, no gift given to God or to his needy people is insignificant when given with true love and genuine piety. Even a small kind act of giving a glass of water to a thirsty person is rewarded. It never goes unnoticed in the eyes of God. The readings and the incidents in the readings and the one which I narrated to you at the beginning call upon us to give generously. Whenever we give from the little that we have, at times it may be insignificant, at times that may be painful to us. But when given wholeheartedly, there is always a miracle taking place. The other person always benefits, but more than that, the person who gives benefits. You are blessed with immense joy for the sacrificial offering that you have made, and that joy given by God will never be taken away from you. No power in this world can steal away that joy that you received through your sacrifice. So for the next time, when you get an opportunity to give, to make a sacrifice, give wholeheartedly with a smile, and God will surely reward you. God bless all of you.